So what's all the fuss about? Where to begin? The start, of course. Buckle up, Dorothy. Kansas is going bye-bye. If the truth can be told so it can be understood, it will be believed. Terrance McKenna. The start of 2020 will go down in history as a catalyst of where we are today and where we will be in a few years, up to 2030. We will concentrate on one potential future, which will manifest if nothing is done to prevent it. This video will be a hard pill to swallow, and not all of you will believe. There is a group called the World Economic Forum, a delightful bunch of knuckle-draggers, and they have big plans for you and the world. The WEF is led by Claus Shwabb, the ultimate Bond villain.
Now is the historical moment, the time, not only to fight severe virus, but to shape the system.
The Build Back Better tagline is theirs and has been uttered by numerous world leaders, including Trump, Biden and Johnson, to name but a few.
When we build back better, we'll do so with higher wages.
And to that end, we will build. Build back better.
This one term is being spouted by so many world leaders as a response to the COVID crisis, coupled with the worldwide consensus to the lockdown response. This at the very least should raise some eyebrows. The world has never collectively agreed on anything, even climate change. So why now? It's as though there is a goal to destroy independent livelihoods and get the global population into a universal basic income.
First tonight, a scheme to provide a universal basic income is to be trialled in Wales. Now, simply put, that means that everyone receives a set amount of money from the government, whether they have a job or not. They're then free to spend that money as they please. That might sound like an attractive prospect to many of you, but it is a complicated issue.
This will cause a dependency on government handouts. Dependency equals control. The Internet of Things is one of the buzzwords you'll be hearing a lot about in the coming months and years. In fact, you've already heard about it when you see the word smart preceding a product or infrastructure. If a product is smart, it really means it's recording and sharing your usage data, technically spying on you and your family.
Start my days, sun rays, I tap the phone, coffee's on, I mow the lawn, impressing Sean, so connected, so effective, I let it drop, clean it up, heat and smart, I do my part, get in the car, superstar, they're watching me, IoT, IoT, IoT. IoT, I check my stock, what a shock, buy some prawn, my oven's on, coming home, future zone, all for me, IoT, 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 IoT. Live like a Bosch, with many connectivity solutions for a smarter future. From Bosch.
If your usage is deemed too much according to your carbon footprint and your annual carbon allowance, you will run the risk of having a reduced UBI or none at all. The UBI will be paid to you in a digital currency with no cash equivalent, meaning you cannot save cash in a jar or under your bed. It will sit in your digital wallet, as there will be no actual cash. The powers that be will limit what you can spend your money on, where you can spend it, and even take it back if you've not spent it in the allotted time. This will affect your ability to save and your ability to create wealth for yourself. The WEF is known for an article written in 2016, the headline of which, "You will own nothing and you'll be happy." If you've ever seen the film Hot Fuzz, you'll be familiar with the term, the greater good.
Oh, but we do care, Nicholas.
It's all about the greater good.
The greater good.
How can this be for the greater good?
People who've seen this film will know what a collectivist mindset leads to. It's, let's say, fascist, and we all know where that ends. What we really need to consider is what happens when it doesn't end and becomes normalised. The world has changed forever. If groups like the World Economic Forum get their way, we're all headed towards the Black Mirror universe. History is in the past. However, history was our ancestors' future. With the horrors of World War I, or as it was called at the time, the Great War, the war to end all wars. How surprised and devastated were the people who lived through World War I, only to live through World War 2.0, the Korean War, Vietnam, Falklands, Iraq 1 and 2, and Afghanistan. Plus all the other horrors like the Rwandan genocide and regimes like Robert Mugabe and Idi Amin. We need to recognise when ideologies come along that benefit a small handful of people, usually at the expense of the many. If we continue to comply with the oppressive and deluded decisions by your respective governments with regards to the COVID pandemic, we will very quickly find ourselves in a situation where there is no escape, as we allow the infrastructure to be built up around us with the sole purpose of enslaving us all into a global panopticon where every action is audited by the state. Swift punishment via reduced or removed UBI, socially stigmatised for not following the government line, which, by the way, won't be a national government, but a global tyrannical government.
What does it mean, globalization 4.0?
We now have the resources to learn and contemplate our own destiny. We do not need an oligarchy of deluded utopian idealists that have little concern for the common people. They believe they are a breakaway civilization and are somehow superior to us. They have money and power. That does not make them the arbiters of our destiny. If they had so much power, they would not need to be so convoluted in their explanations and blatant lies. Why do we so willingly forgive blatant lies? Case in point, Bill Clinton, quote, "I did not have sexual relations with that woman."
But I want to say one thing to the American people. I want you to listen to me. I'm going to say this again. I did not have sexual relations with that woman, Miss Lewinsky. I never told anybody to lie, not a single time, never. These allegations are false, and I need to go back to work for the American people.
Also, the weapons of mass destruction debacle in Iraq, which led to the second invasion into Iraq. We know they lie, we just don't care, so long as it doesn't affect us, while the lies being told now do affect you and your children's future. Vaccines work by introducing a weakened or inert pathogen, which although harmless will prime your immune system to recognise and destroy the foreign body quickly when exposed to the real virus. Vaccines prevent and stop the spread to others. So why, with the COVID vaccine, do we still need to wear masks, social distance, use track and trace apps and comply with new lockdowns? The vaccine's long-term side effects are unknown due to its rapid deployment under dubious emergency approval. This translates into the biggest human vaccine trial the world has ever seen. The Nuremberg Code states that no human can be experimented on without informed consent. Did you know the vaccines are experimental? The Nuremberg trials after World War II found the excuse of just following orders an inadequate defence. Because following orders that go against our fundamental human nature is wrong, regardless of who is giving the order or the consequences for the individual following them. There is a well-documented phenomenon known as the Lucifer effect, which is the title of a book that was written following the Stanford prison experiment. There is also a book called Ordinary Men, which describes the same phenomenon, but is framed in Poland during World War II. It follows the 101st Police Battalion that was tasked with eradicating Jews from Polish villages. It's a story of ordinary men who turned into monsters. And finally, the Milgram experiment showed that most people will cause harm to others providing an authority figure says it's okay. Even if you know what you are doing is causing harm to other people, the experiment involved an actor who received an electric shock from another person in a different room. The shocks were fake, but the person giving the shocks was unaware that they were fake. They received feedback via a microphone and a speaker, with the actor simulating the pain caused by the shocks.
Tell him the correct answer so that he makes the association.
Is it to number 8?
Yes.
It's here. This is, oh my Number 9. The next one is gold, dollar, necklace, moon. It's wrong. $120 volts.
Please continue.
80% of people delivered the maximum shock. The same distribution of participants in the aforementioned experiment and real-life situation was the same. If this is a characteristic of humanity, you are surrounded by 53 million people in the UK that will cause you harm if an authority figure creates an environment that grants permission to do so. The most worrisome aspect of this phenomenon is that you cannot tell if you are in the 20% or the 80% group. It has something to do with authority and the willingness to please. Nazis do not turn up on a boat and tomorrow we are Nazis. Nazis are found not only at the top of a hierarchy, but found at every level in society. This happens over a protracted period of time and goes unnoticed until much harm has occurred. If this goes unchallenged, every citizen will pay a huge price. We are told that the overlords are following the science, and in the UK means listening to SAGE. SAGE is made up of psychologists that specialise in behaviour change. What expertise do they bring to pandemic management?
Mickey, if I can start with you first. Do you think that this is going to be right? We've had so much hope on the vaccines, hopefully changing everything, bringing an end to the pandemic, bringing an end to these changes we've had in our lives. Do you think it won't be enough?
Vaccines are a really important part of the pandemic control, but it's only one part. Test, trace and isolate system, border controls are really essential. And the third thing is people's behaviour. That is the behaviour of social distancing, of when you're indoors, making sure there's good ventilation, or if there's not, wearing face masks, and hand and surface hygiene. We'll need to keep these going in the long term, and that will be good not only for COVID, but also to reduce other.
So when you say long term, sorry to interrupt, Professor Mickey. Jen, when you say long term, what do you mean by that? How long? Very quickly.
I think forever, to some extent.
We can all see that government advice is contradictory at best and blatantly deceitful at worst. What are they hiding and leading us towards? I can guarantee one thing: we are not being led to the normal world of 2019. Claus Shwabb released a book called COVID-19 and the Great Reset. This book was available to buy from Amazon in June 2020, a mere 4 months after COVID-19 was officially named. It's almost as if this book had already been written and the title read, "Insert Crisis Here and the Great Reset." There are 2 other books written by this modern Blofeld Bond villain. Both are about the 4th Industrial Revolution, which is basically every Black Mirror episode laid out in very clinical and technocratic detail. These people are bonkers and talk about Human 2.0 and merging humans with machines. If you like Star Trek, you'll be familiar with the Borg. The only difference is our mate Klaus thinks this is an aspiration and not dystopian at all. It's almost as if their own power and authority is somehow feeding the ordinary men or Lucifer effect within their own ranks, creating a feedback loop that they are unaware of. You may well jump to the conclusion that this video is a conspiracy theory. The term conspiracy theorist is used to basically shut down debate and imply that the target of the slur is a moron. Let's make a deal. Imagine 4 scenarios. Scenario 1. In 2030, the world is back to normal and even better. Free speech has returned and your business is booming and you can travel without any hindrance. Scenario 2. In 2030, all so-called conspiracy theorists are contained in concentration camps, dead or disappeared. You are staring at your smart fridge that has locked itself as you have reached the maximum daily allowance. You will have to wait until tomorrow to make a coffee. Scenario 3. In 2030, the population of the world is 500 million people, but you don't know that, as you're not one of them. Scenario 4. In 2030, you are staring out the 45th floor of your modern apartment block, looking over the 15-minute city you are allowed to explore on foot or bicycle. Your days are consumed with VR, AR and MR, virtual, augmented and mixed reality technology, and all you have to look forward to is uploading your consciousness into the mainframe. My deal is, if number 1 or something closely resembling it happens, all of us that have received the slur conspiracy theorist would gladly accept any prolonged ridicule. If any of the other 3 scenarios come true, wouldn't you regret not looking into the information presented here? We don't say the things we do to frighten or worry you. We do it because we are concerned about our future and yours. We know we are stronger with you than without. We are ruled by the least among us. If you look and don't see what we see, that's fine. But if you do, we have a chance to reverse the damage of a mismanaged pandemic response and build the world we all want to live in. Interesting, don't you think? If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more of this content, please consider subscribing and click the bell icon to get notified of new videos.